Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of creating your first Lotus Notes plugin. So let's review what we've done so far. In the first part, I showed you how to install the Explorer toolkit and configure it inside of Eclipse to launch Lotus Notes. In part 2, I showed you how to create your first client services plugin project and how to add a right-click context menu option to Lotus Notes. In part 3, I showed you how to take advantage of some of the APIs inside of Lotus Notes and how to use those in our context menu plugin project. And in part 4, I'm going to show you how you can start to deploy your plugin project and how to install it inside of Notes. So the first thing we need to do in Eclipse, we need to go and create a new feature project. So you can do that by going to File, New, Project, and select Feature Project. Now we need to give it a name, so we'll call it acme demo.helloworld.feature. And there's some basic properties of your feature project that you can configure before it's created, and we just want to give it a useful name, so we'll call it Hello World Feature. And at this point we can just click Finish, and you can see a new project has been added in our workspace, and it only has 2 files. It's very simple. It has a build.properties file, and this is very similar to the build.properties file in your client services project, and it has a feature.xml file. Now when you create your feature project, Eclipse opens this feature.xml file, and it opens it again in one of these pretty editors. So this editor with all these different tabs at the bottom is just a simplified version of the actual feature.xml file. So in the overview tab, again, this is some just basic properties of your feature. The information tab, you can enter information about the feature, so a description, any kind of copyright, license agreement, and some extra sites to visit. The plugins tab is where you would actually spend most of your time, is probably the most important tab. This is where you add plugins to a feature. Now, one feature can actually contain many plugins, and usually a feature contains related plugins. So, for example, if you have created one plugin that provides a bunch of libraries for other plugins to use, and you've built several other plugins on top of those libraries, you want to probably package all those plugins together inside a single feature. And you can do that here by adding all the plugins to that feature. And then the user just has to install one feature which contains multiple plugins inside of it. You can also include other features inside of your plugin. So if you have features that you want to leverage to be installed with this feature, you can do that here. Dependencies, you can specify any dependencies your plugin might have. So, any dependencies your feature might have. So you can make sure that all those dependencies are satisfied before the plugin the feature gets installed. The installation tab, there's not really much here. This is more of an advanced tab here, but you can find more information about this online. I won't really cover it. The build tab, this is the same as in your plugin project, so I've already covered this. The feature.xml tab, like I said, this is the actual XML, which all these tabs are built on top of. And so whenever you modify something in one of these other tabs, it gets modified in the feature.xml. So what we really want to do here at this point is add our plugin to our feature. So if you click Add, you can enter the plugin name or the plugin ID, and this, in our case, it's acme demo hello world, and we'll select our plugin and click Save at this point. And that's pretty much it. We don't really need to do anything else for our feature. We just add our plugin project that we want to include in our feature, and we're ready to go. So the way features get installed are via update sites. And an update site may have many features. It may have all the features for a single company. It may have all the features for a single project. It's up to you how you decide to construct your update site. but we're going to need to construct an update site to add our feature to it. So the way to do that is to go to File and New and Project, and again in the plugin development folder you'll find an update site project. So we'll select that and we'll give it a name, com.ibm.demo.helloworld.update. That's pretty much it. You can just click Finish. And the update site project is even simpler than the feature project, and all it has is a site.xml file. Again, Eclipse puts a pretty editor on top of that site.xml file, which makes it easier to make changes to. There's only 3 tabs here to change. Your update site, this is where you add features to your update site and where you build your update site. Archives, again, this is a more advanced tab. You can give a URL for your update site if you're going to host it on a website, and a description. And this is the actual site.xml file that gets modified whenever you make changes to the other tabs. So we're just going to go to the sitemap tab and add our feature. So feature is called com.acme.demo.helloworld.feature, and we've added our feature. And at this point, all we need to do is build our update site, and the way to do that is just by clicking the Build All button. And Eclipse will automatically build our update site for us based on our site.xml. And you can see it will add some extra files to the project now. Now, if you're talking about building an update site like we have, just for a single developer, and you're doing some testing and development, this is probably the best way for you to do it. But if we're talking about more enterprise level development of a plugin and deployment of that plugin, you obviously don't want to do to build an update site inside of Eclipse, because it's just not feasible. There's several tools provided by Eclipse that can be used to build these plugins. They're called PDE tools. I can link to additional information about those tools on my blog and on the wiki page, so you can explore more about those tools if you need them. So at this point, we're ready to install the plugin inside of Notes. And the recommended way to install plugins inside of Notes is via the widgets framework. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with widgets. It's one of our most popular features. And I'm going to show you how, if you're not familiar with it, how to install and create a widget for a plugin. So the first thing we need to do is just start Lotus Notes, and we'll log in. Okay, so we're logged in, and you may have to enable widgets if it's not already enabled in Notes. It's disabled by default, so you may not have it enabled, and you can enable it by going to File, Preferences, and then Widgets is an option in the Preferences, and you just want to check Show Widget Toolbar and My Widget Sidebar Panel. Now, widgets can also be controlled by policy, so it may be disabled by policy and you may not see this option. So if you don't see it, you can talk to your administrator to see if he can allow you to enable widgets and try this out. At this point, we just click OK, and that did 2 things. The first thing it did was add our My Widget Sidebar panel, and the second thing it did was add a toolbar for widgets. And the easiest way to create a widget for a plugin is by clicking the Getting Started with Widgets button, and we want to select the Features and Plugins option. So just click Next. We need to enter a URL to our update site in order for it to load the feature. So the easiest way to do that is to go back to Eclipse And once you're in Eclipse, you can right click on your update site project and head down to properties. And one of the properties you can see is the location to your update site. So you just want to copy and paste this location. So we'll copy it and head back to notes. And we want to enter this in a URL, the location, the path in a URL format. So the way to do that is give it a file URL. And that should do it. So we just have file / and then the path to the update site. Actually, we also need, I think we can just click load at this point. Yep. And you can see here's the feature that we created, the feature project for that update site. And we can just click next. And you can enter some information here about how to configure the widget from the update site. You can click next again, and this you can take a look at the manifest file, install manifest. We don't need to make any changes there, so we'll just click next and click finish. So you can see this created our widgets here. It shows up in our My Widget sidebar, and you can also see that there's a it's installing our feature now. And since our feature is not, and our plugin isn't signed, Notes brings up this warning, making sure you want to install the plugin. We know it's okay because we created it. So we'll click install, and then it'll just prompt you to restart, and you can click yes at this point. So just enter your password if you have to, click login. So at this point, our plugin, our update site has been installed, and it's installed via a widget. So we should be able to right-click on a view or document and see our menu option. So let's open our a database to try this out in. And we can right-click, and you can see here's our hello world command. And click on it. It shows us the title of the view. So everything was installed correctly. So that's it for part 4, and stay tuned for part 5.